If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya. Now we're just looking at the dailies to just give you a quick summary on what has captured the eyes of the scribe this 5th of October 2021. I have a copy of the Standard with me, and the front page, you bet, is none other than the Pandora issue. And I know it has, I'll not belabor the point because I'm sure it has also found itself on the front page of the various dailies that my colleagues have with me in studio. I just want to give you a sneak peek into the history of Pandora. This begs, or rather the term Pandora comes from the Greek mythology. And this is probably the first mortal woman created by the gods. And the term Pandora means all gifts, or gifts to all. Apparently, Pandora had a box, and it contained the 7 deadly sins. Some of the 7 deadly sins that were contained in Pandora's box include wrath, gluttony, greed, envy, sloth, pride, and lust. Remember, the reason why even Pandora was made under the Greek mythology was, the parents are gods. She was made by the gods, so to speak. She was not a less celestial body. So she was given a box, and so much was put into it. And Zeus, the king of the gods, and as far as the gods of gods, and as far as the Greek mythology is concerned, was punishing man, so to speak, because they went against the gods and got the gift of fire. So when he was giving the seven gifts in Pandora's box, he included hope. And some people who've analyzed Greek mythology and tried to understand it, they say hope was put there so that because it prolongs man's suffering. But that is for you to decipher as we go. That was just a Greek mythology lesson this morning, because Pandora is on the front page of the Standard this morning, and President says that the Pandora Papers will usher in a new age of transparency in Kenya and promises to respond comprehensively upon return from his state visit to the United States. Front page. Then also matters of finances. Remember, we have been glaring on, matters, a debt ceiling. There's been talk about raising the debt ceiling from the current 9 trillion to 11-12 to accommodate the spending that we have. We're going into the we're going to the elections in the next few months. Do we have the requisite monies to hold these credible elections? So, while that is happening, KRA says that it has recovered 100 billion shillings from tax cheats. So, however, the court's decision on minimum tax and adjustment of excise duty, and also it says that the collection may fall by 23 billion, due to the court's decision on minimum tax. Remember, there is that particular court that made that decision in Machakos there, and suspended the payment of minimum tax there after businesses complained that during COVID they did not make any profits. Actually, they were running the businesses on negative, so to speak. Then adjustment of excise duty on petroleum products might actually affect these 100 billions that they have recovered from tax cheats. Talking about the general election 2022, day one was yesterday in Nakuru, where IEBC began, their month-long exercise there to register more voters. It means if you had registered before, you do not need to register again. It simply means that. So IEBC is targeting to register at least 6 million new voters by the end of the 30 days that it's going to be conducting such. And the chairman has come out to say, you know what, we are broke, but we must work. Remember, there is a deficit there in their budgetary allocation for the current financial year. And this has been the talk, both on mainstream media as well as social media, and even the corridors of, or rather in the chamber, in as far as politics, as far as parliament is concerned, both at the Senate as well as the National Assembly. On the special feature, we have bandits' bullets that have killed dreams. We have heard, this is a story about, people who've ended up getting amputations and such over, stray bullets and such. Matters of politics also find themselves on the front page with Ruto and Raila on the front page there. One is in Garissa. One was taken, ODM leader is in Garissa town, while the Deputy President William Ruto, as per this pic, was popularizing his bid at Nyakembene. Wow. Nyakembene, South Mugirango in Kisii County, run up to the general elections 2022. That's a quick summary. What has captured the scribes in as far as the Standard is concerned. To you, Jane.
Now let us run through the front page of the Daily Nation. Some of the stories that haven't found their way on the Standard there. Of course, Pandora's Box is the main read here on the front page of this particular daily. Moving on to the other stories, there is the story concerning the curfew being extended for a further 30 days. This is something that, people will be like, okay. That's the reaction that so many people have expressed towards this extension of the night curfew, the dusk to dawn curfew. Some politics is that Raila courts the regional parties, and this is in line with the current northeastern tour that he is on. And just yesterday, we did see Treasury CS, that is Yatani, alongside the Garissa Governor, Isiolo Governor, as well as Wajir Governor, announced the region's newly formed political grouping called Upia Movement, which have expressed support for Mr. Odinga for his 2022 presidential bid. Another story that has been featured here is in regards to the fuel pain, with MPs now to the rescue and looking at some of the recommendations that they have made in an effort to try and reduce, or rather curb, the rising cost of fuel. And these are recommendations by the Parliamentary Committee to reduce the fuel price. They have recommended the reduction by half of a VAT that is charged on petroleum products. Just to mention but a few very quickly, they have also recommended the slashing of excise duty and petroleum development levies, as well as scraping off the 1.5% railway development levy, because they have said that all these multiple taxes are the reason as to why the fuel prices are spiraling out of control and, on an upward trajectory. They also want to amend regulations to require the EPRA to seek parliamentary approval before announcing the price reviews, all in efforts to try and, get a hold of the fuel prices, and especially so given they have been on an upward trajectory. Looking at the voter registration that was officially launched yesterday in Nakuru, 11 counties hold the most new votes. Collectively, there are 11 counties with nearly half of the estimated total number of new voters expected to be registered in this month-long exercise, which contribute to 45%, or roughly translating to 4.2 million new votes. This and so much more, we'll be giving you more details to Kendeleana in the headlines. Victor.
And still on that issue of voter registration, low turnout as poll agency starts mass voter registration. It is said that 30-day exercise started on Monday and targets to least 6 million people. Low turnout and calls for the IBC to increase the number of registration clerks marred the first day of mass voter registration as the electoral agency started the exercise across the country. Now, the 30-day exercise started on a low key on Monday, with a handful of people turning up to be registered at various voters in various parts of the country. Now, the electoral body targets to at least 6 million new voters, setting the stage for a fierce battle among the bigwigs for the voting bloc that has been the potential of tilting the outcome of the forthcoming general election. And still on matters, this is now a blame game in terms of treasury and money there. Munya says that CS Yatani, responsible for high fuel prices, says that treasury holding on to 24 billion shillings in subsidies. Petroleum CS John Munyes has blamed his national treasury counterpart Ukur Yatani for the high fuel prices that have sparked protest from Kenyans. Now, Munyes yesterday told the Senate Energy Committee that the treasury has declined to release 24 billion shillings from the Petroleum Development Fund that would be used to cushion Kenyans against high fuel prices. In politics, Northeastern top guns throw weight behind ODM's Raila Odinga. Korane, his Wajir counterpart Mukhtar, and Isiolo's Kuti are among the heavyweights supporting ODM leader, who is also expected to meet Mandera and Marsabit governors. Political heavyweights from Northeastern there meeting ODM leader Raila Odinga yesterday in Marsabit. And now the well-attended event brought together delegates from Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Isiolo, Marsabit, and Mandera. Garissa Governor Ali Korane, his Wajir counterpart Ahmed Mukhtar, and Isiolo's Mohamed Kuti among some of the heavyweights who participated in that event. Okay, on the issue of Pandora, Kenyatta family has 13 offshore farms, one of which was valued with assets worth 3.31 billion Kenyan shillings. And according to President Kenyatta, Uhuru says that we can account for our offshore billions. President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose family prodigies offshore wealth was exposed by a consortium of investigative journalists, says that he has nothing to hide. He has promised to respond comprehensively on his return. The president neither denied nor discredited the leakage, saying that such reports will enhance financial transparency in Kenya and worldwide. That is as far as that story is concerned. And on the front page of the Star now, we can account for our offshore billions. That's still Uhuru. The Kenyatta family has 13 offshore farms, one of which was valued with assets at worth 3.1 billion shillings. And according to John Githongo, he says that report has created a lot of anxiety. Okay, how that is going to pan out is again a matter of wait and see. Now, ladies, there's a story here. KDF widows and widows who remarry to lose pension. Soldiers and families to be paid gratuity and pension within 90 days. So the story says that KDF widows and widowers who remarry or enter into new relationship will not be paid pension benefits. Now, new rules published by the Defense Ministry provide that no payment shall be made to a KDF widow or widower who remarries or cohabits with another person as husband or wife. Pension also shall be denied to any widow or widower who abandons any of a deceased KDF officers' children. So, according to the regulation, when the widow or widower has children by the deceased KDF member under his or her charge, they may receive the pension on behalf of the children. It can also be sent to an approved guardian. And that is why it's called a disciplined force. Doreen.
Okay, let's come to the People's Daily. And with children at home right now that they have closed school, and we obviously have picked that since yesterday evening when Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp was down, clearly just shows how much we love social media, and even some are addicted to this platform. So this is why the government is now intensifying efforts to protect children and the youth from harmful online content with a multimedia campaign with the name Huwezi Tuchezea Tuko Cyber Smart. That is the name of the campaign there, but I'll be telling you more a bit about it and what the government is trying to do to at least ensure that children and the youths are protected from any cyberbullying, even at this point or at this time when they are at home. We have also talked about the expressway. We talked a bit about it yesterday, also gave you a bit of the latest report from Kenha. But now the Transport Cabinet Secretary, that is James Macharia, says that the city expressway is set to ease traffic and also turn Kenya into a tourism hub. So not just when it comes to easing traffic, because as you already know, that just staying in traffic for a single hour, the country loses about 11 million Kenyan shillings. So this is why they're really in a bid to try and ensure that they make it easy and they try all they could to reduce traffic congestion. And this is also why the expressway came into shape. Also being termed as one of its kind in East and Central Africa, and the second largest toll road in Africa after Dakar Toll Highway. So clearly the expressway is going to be one of its kind, and like I mentioned also earlier, it's 64% already in terms of completion, and it's going to take a period of 2 years up until next year, that is December 2022. But also this article continues to just highlight more a bit about the expressway, so I'll be also telling a bit about that in just a short while. And again, coming to the extension of curfew, clearly Kenyans had waited at least to see if perhaps they would lift the curfew, but the CS yesterday, as he was addressing the Media Council of Kenya during the COVID-19 information, during that particular function, there he addressed various issues, just citing as to why the curfew was extended for a further 30 days again. clearly citing the issue of vaccines as well as many other things there that again we'll highlight for you in just a short while also. Coming to IEBC as well as the listing that just began yesterday in Nakuru County. IEBC has raised various concerns, key among them being the issue of budgeting, just trying to say to the state that they need to allocate more monies for them to ensure that this particular exercise is conducted well. And speaking of just elections as well as the listing there, also the Electoral Commission has been asked to ease voting process for disabled persons to try and also make it easy for them during the voting process. And this was mentioned by the nominated MP, that is Denita Gatti, who represents persons living with disability in Parliament. And he says that all voters should be catered for, inclusive of also persons living with disabilities there. And of course, the Pandora Papers does not miss, still on the front page of the People's Daily there.
Ray.
I don't know where to start from because so much has been said about this Pandora, and well, it remains as such. And we can only await to hear from State House, especially the president, who said he's going to offer a response into regard to those papers that were made public there. You know, they found themselves on the various front pages of the various dailies. Now let's talk about what happened to all of us as a globe. Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram suffer a worldwide outage. How did that make you feel? Did you get anxious? How did it change your relationship? Maybe you expected to do a video call, you didn't manage to do a video call. Maybe you were expecting a certain document, you couldn't get it because it was on a certain platform. So the company has come out to say that it was aware that some people are having trouble accessing the Facebook app. However, the company did not say what might be causing the outage, which began at around 11:45 East African time, or okay, ET, that is around 6:45 local time. Yeah, so nothing has really. Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram are owned by one millionaire, and that is Mark Zuckerberg. And he's not come out to say exactly what was happening. So I even learned there was another app that is available. It's called Signal, I think. Kenyans discovered that, or I understand it's not a new thing. It has been there, but hey, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So that was what was happening in as far as social media is concerned. And this begs the question, are you an addict of social media? Can you stay off social media, and for how long? That's a question you need to ask yourself. So those are details that you're still waiting for. Remember, it has a financial implication, especially to the owner, who is said to have lost in those 5 hours, period of 5 hours, a cool $6 billion. And I'm sure this is going to affect, in as far as investment in these platforms, because it shows that there's a gap that hasn't been fully filled to make it, foul-proof in as far as an investment is concerned. So, to you, Jane, further details in regard to stories that you have highlighted for us.
Yes, let me take you through the Daily Nation, a number of stories that we have touched on already, but just to look at some bit. When it comes to the Pandora story, every paper has its own different angle, so you can be able to run through the paper and see what each has to say. But let me bring you to the Daily Nation and look at this particular story concerning the Lands Ministry, and looking at the digitization of lands record to go beyond 22, and looking at the estimated time frame that was given by the CS when they were launching the whole digitization process back in 2018. They had estimated 2 years is what would be required to digitize the entire of the lands records, to just make sure that all physical material has been captured and has been digitized. But now, yesterday, the CS, Farida Karane, indicated that it was impossible to reach this target by the close of next year. And with that at hand, looking at the progress that has been made so far, it will have to spill over to the next government. And this is something that political critics have come out to say that it is one of the legacy projects of President Kenyatta that will be left at the mercy of the next president. And we remember a couple of weeks back when the CS said that, you know, the rot that is in the ministry, the level to which the politics and the corruption within the walls of the House, it's so deep-seated that it would nearly be impossible for her to work should she choose to take action against some of these officials that are in key positions that would help her, that she would need their help when it comes to the implementation of her project and her, you know, dream to see the whole lands ministry digitized. So yesterday she said that, you know, that is one of the reasons that still will not allow her to actualize this whole process of digitizing the lands ministry by the close of President Uhuru's term, come to by the end of next year, August, saying that this is something that we need to be alive to, and indicating that due to the depth of problems, officials handling the actual cleaning of data at the ministry, that is one of the reasons as to why she might not be able to achieve this target that she has set for 2 years that will have to spill over into the next government's mercy, as has been captioned on this paper. Vic.
Okay, so let's talk about some pressing issue here. Kilifi County appeals to donors to help drought-stricken locals. The president had earlier declared drought as a national disaster, and now Kilifi County appeals to donors to help drought-stricken locals. Gender executive says the situation is worrying and families are in dire need of food. So the Kilifi government has appealed to donors, well-wishers and NGOs to help over 148,000 families affected by the drought. Gender executive Anissa Omar said that the situation is worrying and families are in dire need of food. As of September, over 3,000 animals had died, while people are now surviving on wild fruits. Now, the most affected areas are Ganze, Magarini, Kaloleni and parts of Malindi. Anissa said that out of the 21 counties affected by drought, Kilifi is second. So I think the government needs as well to give more attention and focus on that particular part of the country, because people surviving on wild fruits, you remember sometimes way back in, I think 2-3 years ago, in West Pokot and Kapingura, those sides of Turkana, people were surviving on wild fruits, which in turn became poisonous, and some of them lost their lives, you know. And you know, you boil a wild fruit, na haivi, you get, and at the end of the day, when you consume it, you suffer more. And I think it's now high time the government gave a serious focus on that particular part of the country. Okay. There's a story here. Kabarnet residents decry sale of drugs and alcohol to school children. A drunk schoolboy was spotted staggering before he jumped on a motorbike on Friday. Aliulizwa akasema he was just trying to drown the stress level. So Nyumba Kumi elder Hamisi Alfan of Bondeni Estate has also raised concern over illegal licensing of backstreet bars and wine and spirit joints on the rise. That's on the rise. So authorities in Kabarnet, please take charge. Police officers in Kabarnet, from the national broadcaster, you are on the spot. Kids should be in school. Kids should be in school. I think that's just that. There's no negotiation about it. Make sure that all school-going children are in the right place. They deserve to be there.
Absolutely.
They deserve to be there.
Doreen.
All right, let's talk about this road. And this is because on the PG this morning, it has been given 2 pages just describing this road that is set to shape how Kenya looks like and how Nairobi city will look like the moment it's complete. At 64% complete already, it's set to decongest Nairobi metropolitan area, besides facilitating seamless movement on the northern corridor, that is the Nakuru-Nairobi highway. So the Nairobi the expressway, currently under construction, is expected to significantly reduce traffic jams in the city, thereby making the country the preferred international tourism destination of choice regionally. The 65 billion expressway, which is the first of its kind in East and Central Africa and the second largest toll road in Africa after Dakar Toll Highway, will help save billions lost in traffic jams every year. given that the country loses an approximated 11 million Kenyan shillings in traffic every hour. Speaking at the Athi River Machakos standoff during an inspection tour of the Northern Corridor project, that is the Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia, he pointed out that the new expressway will be a game-changer project that will ease movement in and out of the capital. In addition to that, he also said, just aside from reducing traffic congestion, being looked at the best road in the region, the second largest in Africa, he also said that the expressway must also be seen not just as an infrastructural project, but it's also part of a bigger story of moving labor and capital much faster from point to point, but more importantly, agricultural produce from Kiambu to JKIA, given that that's where the road begins, and will take less than an hour, and to markets in city center. So that's what he further continued to say. Well, you can also get your copy, try to read more about this particular project, try to understand why the state is so much keen on this expressway, and also so much keen to try and ensure that the construction process lapses at the exact time in which they have put in place there, because of how instrumental, important this kind of project and road it will be in Nairobi and also Kenya as a whole. Great.
Now, as you come to a close, there are changes, especially in the judicial system there. You know, we are seeing magistrates and judges making quite the verdicts there. Now, taking you to Baringo, where a Baringo judge has bashed the DCI over delay in procuring witnesses. Apparently, they were following up on a case, the defendant in a murder case filed in 2013. To date, there is no prosecution witness. And he said, I oppose the application. No single reason has been given. The prosecution and the police are washing their dirty linen in this forum, which is not acceptable. These are the words of Vincent Kiptum, who is the lawyer of representing Chalimo, who has been, you know, in this case, indicted in this matter and, you know, taken to court. Since 2013, no witnesses have been produced, you know. So this judge says that will not happen. He issues the directive last week. We're presiding over a case and says that prosecutor in this case wanted another adjournment of the case that has been in court for 9 years. And this is what prompted the judge to issue the orders. It is a wrap. Remember, you can get further details of stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours available on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. And we're also streaming live. So we're not done with Good Morning Kenya, just in the headline segment. And I'd want to pose a question to you, not about Pandora, we already answered that, but a question: how many marginalized communities do you know in Kenya? How many marginalized communities do you know in Kenya? I know my colleagues here, maybe they just know the El Molo, but I want to assure you that there is a community that goes by the name Wayu, who have a king and queen system, and they are domiciled within 9 counties in the country, and the emperor is in Ethiopia in a place called Woyowondo. That is going to be coming up in not too long as we continue with conversations that are not only informative, but also, you know, interactive. Do keep it right here.